Hey gang, welcome back to another video. Now some of you may have noticed the C-3PO hand hanging out in the background of some of my videos. It's a project that I've been meaning to tackle for some time, but getting a realistic gold paint finish can be challenging. Well, that was until I stumbled across a technique by prop maker Gordon Tarpley that sounded like it might just be perfect for this build. But there's a catch. It uses food coloring. Well, color me intrigued, so let's get into it. Before I can do anything, this prop will need some sanding. The key to any good metallic paint job is always in the surface prep, so it's important to spend some time making sure that whatever you'll be painting has all of the marks and blemishes addressed before getting anywhere near paint. This piece had already been primed and sanded and was relatively smooth, so I decided that a bit of ultra-fine steel wool would be a good choice to give it a final bit of smoothing. The other benefits of steel wool is its ability to get into all of the weird contours of this prop. When the surface finish looks smooth, I'll give it a dusting off and wipe it down with a tack cloth to remove any dust, and then it's time for paint. Rather than start with a gloss layer, we're jumping right into the chrome. I'll be using Rust-Oleum Bright Metallic Silver spray paint, which will get dusted all over the surface of the prop until I build up to complete coverage. Metallic spray paints can be tricky, since they need time for the solvents to evaporate. So you'll want to take your time with this step to prevent unwanted drips and flaws in your finish. When I'm happy with the coverage, I'll move the prop out of direct sunlight and give it 24 hours to dry, making sure not to touch it since I don't want any of the oils from my fingertips to stain the finish. And since I've got 24 hours to burn, I'm going to build a base for C-3PO's hand. I threw together a design based around this off-cut piece of 4-inch ABS pipe and cut some pieces on my laser to act as a top and bottom. They also have two small 10mm holes that I'll use to hold a piece of aluminum rod that will support the finished prop. I just need to glue everything together. Now that everything is properly aligned, I can give the base a quick sanding to help blend the seams, since the pipe isn't exactly circle, but the laser cut pieces are. And once I'm happy with that, I can set it aside. 24 hours have passed and it's time to test out this food coloring gold tint method. Now Gordon's recipe says to add 16 drops of yellow and 1 drop of red into 4 ounces of high gloss acrylic varnish. This container happens to be 4 ounces, so I can get right to tinting. Then I can give it a shake, grab my spray gun, and get to applying the first layer. I'm running my spray gun at about 30 psi, and I'm trying to spray from roughly a foot away, although there's definitely some areas where I got closer, which resulted in some drips. But thankfully I had a wet brush on hand to catch them when they appeared. It was a warm day when I was painting, so I jumped to my second coat after about 15 minutes. And then the third coat 15 minutes later. Then it was time to let it dry for a few hours, although varnish really should dry overnight. At this point, I shifted back to working on the base. I had these greeblies left over from my moisture evaporator lamp build, and they'll look great around the bottom of the stand. And as an added bonus, we'll make the base wider to prevent C-3PO's hand from accidentally falling over. Once they're all glued in place, and through the magic of video, I can walk off camera and return with the base primed and ready for paint. Since I'm shooting for an Empire Strikes Back version of C-3PO, I thought it might be cool to paint the base in sort of a Bespin color palette. So with a rusty orange and a brownish red, I started dusting the surface to blend the colors together until I liked how it looked. Then I grabbed a dark gray to add just a bit of contrast. If I found that it was getting too muddy, I'd switch back to one of the other colors, and then just kept working it in a circle until I was happy with how it looked. The last detail I wanted to add to the base was some tubing. This split loom was left over from the BDX build and just barely fit into these openings, but I think it's a nice nod to the aesthetic of the carbon freeze chamber, so I'm going to add it. It's the following morning now, and after a bit of late night detailing, including blacking out the palm and adding wires, it was time to grime up this prop. So I grabbed my airbrush and a thinned down dark brown acrylic paint and got to it. I'll apply the wash to the hand in sections and we'll wipe it away on the high spots to expose the shiny gold paint layer below. I'm also using this as an opportunity to fill in some of the areas that I missed that should have been painted black. Now I may go back and address this in the future, but for now this weathering will get the job done. I kept working my way around the prop, making sure to get into all of the recesses and then wiping it back to reveal the gold base paint to give it some variety. And for good measure, I'll add a bit of wash to the base before calling it done. Now I'm really pleased with how this turned out, but definitely could see that a bit more prep work, a brighter primer color, and a high gloss clear coat before applying the chrome would result in a brighter and more reflective surface. But all in all, this is a great technique and looks so much better than most budget-friendly gold paint options. I'd like to give a special thank you to Gordon Tarpley for sharing this information, and be sure to head over to his YouTube channel to check out more of his videos. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, but most importantly, go make something.